Welcome to the Magical Traveling Moms podcast, where your hosts, Tina and Colleen, talk about all things travel. From theme parks to cruises to all-inclusive resorts and more, they cover news, tricks, and insider tips to inspire your travel dreams. They love to travel and want you to love it too. Find out their best-kept secrets and learn how to make your next vacation extra magical, right here on the Magical Traveling Moms podcast.
Welcome to the Magical Traveling Moms podcast. My name is Colleen, and I am here today with my co-host, Tina, and we're going to talk about whether you should go on a cruise right now. What is cruising like right now? We are going to cover it all in today's episode. October actually happens to be National Cruise Month, so we thought that this was a good topic to discuss. And many of you are wondering about it and asking lots of questions about it. And there's a lot to consider, lots that has changed. So we're going to go over all of that today. But before we get started, we do always like to say a little something about the sponsors of our show, Mystical Dream Travel. Mystical Dream Travel is a full-service travel agency specializing in premium family vacations, such as Disney destinations, cruises, Mexico and the Caribbean. The agents at Mystical Dream Travel will help you from start to finish to plan you the perfect vacation for your family. And if you are wanting to plan a vacation, be sure to contact Mystical Dream Travel today. It doesn't cost you anything, but you get a huge amount of value from using their professional services. So check them out at mysticaldreamtravel.com or look them up on social media. Hi, Tina. How are you today?
I'm good, Colleen. How are you? I'm really looking forward to talking about this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I am, but I'm also nervous because it's a little controversial, and there's, it's been sort of a tricky situation for the last few months, I think, with cruising. Lots of questions, lots of uncertainty, but I am excited that cruising has resumed for the most part.
I am. It has come back. The ships are in the water. And
several have already gone out, and then
yes.
Like Disney Cruise Line has some soon in October that they're going to be starting. So that is promising and encouraging to see them. And that's over here in America. There has been cruising over in Europe and in Asia
for a while
before now. Right. Yeah. Before now they had started again. But here through the U.S. ports, we've been waiting a long time. It feels like a really long time that we've been waiting.
We have been waiting a long time for them to come back. I feel like they're like the last part of the travel industry that has come back and took the longest, of course. And I'm really excited to see them coming back into rotation and into all of the waters and the destinations. And there are a lot of restrictions at those destinations. But it's a start, and that's
baby
a good
steps.
thing.
Right?
Yes. Baby steps. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it is good. And they're taking it slow, and that's good too, because I know they don't want any mishaps. They don't want any hiccups. Obviously, as an industry, as a business, they can't afford for things to shut down again.
No, not at all.
That would be very bad for the business, and we don't want cruising to go away forever. At least I don't want cruising to go away forever. So I think that, they're doing their best to make sure that everything is safe. But that means a very slow and very specific type of starting. And so we're going to talk about that. That's what everybody wants to know. And it's not the same for every cruise line. Every cruise line is a little different. So this is one of those controversial topics. Like, should you go on a cruise? Who should go on a cruise? Where can you go on a cruise? And we're gonna talk about it. So are you ready?
Yeah, I am ready. I'm excited about this topic, actually.
Okay.
I know you did all the research for it, so I'm ready to be educated.
You're ready to get educated. Okay. Well, I thought we would just rip the Band-Aid off and just jump right in and talk immediately about the elephant in the room, what everybody wants to know, and it's vaccinations. And do you need to be vaccinated to go on a cruise? And what is going on with that? That's honestly, I think, like the number one question that people have about going back to cruising. So the answer is basically yes, that you need to be vaccinated. It's a little bit of yes and no, because there are a couple of instances where you wouldn't. But in general, you have to be vaccinated in order to go on a cruise ship from at all, anywhere. I mean, not just the U.S. ports. In Europe, it's the same. So basically, to get on a cruise ship, yes, the answer is you have to be vaccinated. Now, kids under 12 and people with certain health conditions that have prevented them from being able to get the vaccine, there are a couple of scenarios where, you could go on a cruise still, even though you're not vaccinated, even though the kids are not. Obviously, they can't be vaccinated. So, but there's still a lot of restrictions in place for those people, for the unvaccinated people. So,
yep, absolutely. And each cruise line is different. So
yeah.
That's, I think some things are the same, but
Right.
really the way they're managing it and is very different.
Mm-hmm.
And also the way you have to report to your vaccination
Yes.
and your testing and everything varies by cruise line and what they're requiring you to do pre-cruise. So
right. And it's so important to know what that process is, because if you show up at the port and you have not done what you're supposed to for that cruise line, if you don't have the proper documentation or have it uploaded to a lot of them are using like their websites, their apps and stuff, that you have to put that information on ahead of time. And then you're not getting on the ship.
Right. And you cannot do it the day of. That's the important thing to know. A lot of people think, I'll just load it up the morning before I go. It has to be done within so many hours, usually within 72 hours of your cruise, because they will deny you boarding at the port. And you don't want to get there and be all excited for your vacation and it's not there.
That would be the worst. I can't even imagine how horrible that would be to show up thinking you're going on a cruise,
and it has happened.
To find out, it is. It's absolutely happening to people, unfortunately. And I feel like this is a good moment to plug like one of the reason number 135 that you should use a travel advisor.
Absolutely, 100%, because they will guide you through the entire process.
Right. Yes, they will make sure, because they are staying up to date. I mean, that's our job, is to, because it is changing all of the time. Like every week, it seems, it's a little. Do they tweak it? They add something. They take something away. Whatever. So if you're working with a travel advisor, they're going to know exactly what you need to do. They're going to make sure you do it. They're not going to let you get to the port and not have all of your ducks in a row. So it's just another layer of, security there that you definitely are all set.
No, I agree. I think that cruise lines are always learning every day on what's working and what's not working, and actually what really is needed versus what's not needed. And I think that's why the changes occur so frequently. Plus, with all the CDC guidelines too, they're working closely with them, and so all of that changes too. So that's why, like exactly what Colleen said. Reason number 135 to use a mystical dream travel agent.
A mystical dream travel agent.
Because they are on top of it.
They are on top of it. I mean, that's, we take it very seriously. So I went and I looked at every major cruise line that we work with, and I looked at their policies, and like you said, they're very different. There are a couple of things that everyone's doing. So everyone is making all guests take a COVID test prior to getting on the ship. So no matter what, if you're vaccinated or not, it doesn't matter. Every single person that gets on that ship has to have taken a COVID test And some of it's usually like 2 to 3 days. It can vary a little bit from cruise line to cruise line what the window is, but it's basically 2 days from your sail date that you have to have this test done and uploaded to, whatever their system is, so that they have this proof. So that definitely across the board, it doesn't matter which cruise line you're going on, doesn't matter if you're vaccinated, it doesn't matter. You have to take a COVID test before you can get on the ship.
Yes, and it must be negative. So we must,
it
must be negative.
You have to take one, and it has to be negative. It has to be negative.
Yes.
And, I think another question a lot of people have is, what happens if I take the test and it's positive? Right.
On embarkation day?
Yeah. Like, what if I go, I have my cruise in 2 days and I go and take my test and, it comes back positive. Then what? What happens? Obviously you can't go on your cruise, right? But what are the cruise lines doing to help? What are they going to do for you? Or that's just it? Oh, sorry, you lost your cruise, you lose your money. Like, what? I think people have that concern.
Yeah, and that's a fear, and I think that's a valid concern for families to have, because a cruise vacation is an investment, and but what I do think is happening is that the cruise lines are honoring your cruise, and so you have the option, depending on the cruise line, to either rebook or refund. So,
right. Yes.
So it really
all of them are at the very least, going to let you rebook your cruise.
Yes,
they're going to give you future cruise credit for what you paid,
yes,
so that you can book for a future cruise, which is great to know that you're not going to just lose that money. You will get to go on your cruise, just not right now.
Yes, it might be. And I think with the future cruise credit, depending on the cruise line, of course, you have up to a year.
Some of them have even extended it into 2023. Like, you might have to book it by a certain date, but it could be for a cruise in 2023.
Right.
So I feel like the cruise lines have tried to be very flexible and very understanding about all of the varied situations that could pop up, and making sure that you are not just losing money, like that you have and a lot of them are using that cruise with confidence is like their little tagline for their policies, so that you're going to get to go on your cruise. If something happens and you get positive, whatever, you can still go, just later. So I think that that's important for people to know, to make them feel comfortable booking the cruise in the first place.
Right. Yeah. You're not gonna lose your money per se. I do, but some will offer it. Like I said, it depends on the cruise line and their policy. Some will offer it as a full refund. Some will do future cruise credit only.
Yeah.
And
there's all different stipulations on that too. So again, this is the kind of stuff that your travel advisor will tell you. Before you book, they will make sure it's very clear to you, this is the policy and what to expect if this happens or this happens or this happens. And of course, I always tell everybody, travel insurance. Get the travel insurance, people. If there was ever a time where you should be getting travel insurance, no matter what vacation you're booking, like now is when you should be doing that.
Yes, travel insurance is your friend.
It is your friend right now. That is absolutely for sure.
Yes.
So I thought we could just go cruise line by cruise line. That's how I organized this. Like, I just thought, you know what? Because they're so different, really, other than really the only thing they all have in common is that having to take a COVID test before you get on. And there's health questionnaires, and they're going to take your temperature at the port and that kind of stuff. But other than that, they are all a little different. So, so I thought we'd start with Disney Cruise Line.
Sure.
And Disney Cruise Line is that guests 12 years of age and older must be vaccinated. So anybody
no exceptions,
able to get vaccinated needs to be vaccinated. Now they have this special consideration for kids under 12, but they do not have a consideration for people with health conditions, like an adult, like a person over 12 who has a health condition that they couldn't get the vaccine. There's no special thing for them. It's only for kids. So, and then of course the kids that are under 12, they have to take more than just the test at the port. So you have to take a test before you get to the port, like that window. Then you have to take a test at the port before you can get on the ship, a rapid. And then depending on the cruise, they might have to take another test during the cruise.
Depending on the length of the cruise.
Depending on the length of the cruise. Right. So there's definitely a lot of testing involved.
Yes, and it should be noted for Disney Cruise Line, for kids under 12.
Right.
There is no cost for that.
Right. Yes, that is a very good point, because that's not true with all of them.
No, it's not.
Lines. It's not true with all the cruise lines that there's no cost, but that is something Disney is doing, that they are covering the cost of the testing at the port and on the ship and all of that. It doesn't cost you anything extra.
And that's just for kids.
Right. Yes.
Under 11.
Everybody else should be vaccinated.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And they have to do the initial test prior to getting on the ship, but then they're fine. Then you don't need to retest again.
Absolutely.
There's no worries. Yeah, it's just the unvaccinated kids that have to. Masks are required in all indoor spaces, whether you're vaccinated or not. And unvaccinated guests can only get off of the ship at the ports if you have a planned excursion. So that's a huge consideration, I think, for families to understand that, yes, you can take your kids on this cruise if they're not vaccinated. However, if you want to get off of the ship at any of these ports, you need to know what excursions you're allowed to do, because it's not every excursion either. It's like certain ones, and understand you cannot get off the ship unless you have one of those booked.
And they are excursions through the cruise line. So It's not excursions. I know a lot of people like to book with third parties outside of the cruise line.
Because it's less expensive usually,
Yes.
People think they're going to save money by doing that, but you can't get off.
You cannot do that right now. So it should note, though, that's only on stops of Nassau, other islands. But the private islands, you can get off. So Disney's Castaway Cay, as long as you're following all the protocols and everything like that, you can everyone can get off the ship there.
Yes. Yeah. And so that is a good point to bring up, because that is nice that you can do that. And with Disney, Disney Cruise Line does a lot of 3-night and 4-night sailings. And on those sailings, there really is only usually 2 ports. You go to Nassau, and you would go to the private island, Castaway Cay. So Castaway Cay, you'll be able to get off and it's okay. And Nassau, I don't know. Personally, I never get off in Nassau anyway. So
I got off couple years ago last time, and we did an excursion. I was like, okay, I'm good with
Nassau. Nassau, I did that one. No, it's fine.
Been there too many times.
So in that regard, it's actually not bad.
No.
Going on because Disney cruise ships are so amazing, and there's so much amazing stuff on the ship. It's like kind of almost doing it for the ship part, not the ports necessarily, especially
right. I agree.
For a night one. So it's not. I think with Disney Cruise Line in particular, it's not that bad that you wouldn't be able to get off of the ship unless you had an excursion planned. So Castaway Cay is the one that you want to get off at anyway.
100%. I can't wait to go next year.
So one other thing that I wanted to point out is that they also, which I thought this was interesting, they are requiring, if you're on a 5-night or longer sailing, you also have to take a COVID test before you can get off of the ship.
Yes.
At the end of the cruise. At the end of the cruise, they're making you take a COVID test, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I was like, why are they doing that? So I don't know if it's more for data collection purposes.
Well, you know what?
Can say, when everybody got off of the ship, we tested them and they were negative. So people couldn't test positive later and be like, oh, I got it on the cruise. I don't know.
I would lean more towards that, to be honest with you, because let's think about that. When the pandemic happened, the cruise lines got hit the hardest because, that's where we saw it first. I do think, this will probably be an unpopular opinion, but I do think the media had a lot of
Oh yeah,
negative into that, and I think too at the time we probably didn't know what to do in the U.S., but I think it was a little extreme, and that's just my opinion, personal opinion on that. But I think you have a point there in that I think they are doing it to collect data to be able to show, look, we're cruising safely, and individuals are cruising and they're not getting COVID, and here's the results.
Right, like we have proof because here we tested all the unvaccinated people and nobody was positive when we let them off the ship. So that's what I wonder, because otherwise I'm not really sure what the point of that would be.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. So I think you're probably right on that one.
Yeah. And with Disney Cruise Line, I also wanted to make sure we mentioned that fish extenders are not allowed right now, which is kind of a bummer. I get it, but it's a bummer. And if you don't know what a fish extender, I know some of our listeners might not know. On a Disney cruise ship, on the stateroom door, there's like this little fish that's like a clip, and they can leave you messages. And so a long time ago, some people came up with this idea to leave each other gifts. And so it's evolved into this huge thing now that people form these groups before the ship sails to do these fish extenders, and they make elaborate like pocket holders that they hang from it. And then you go around, you sign up for one of those groups, and then you get a list of people that are in your group, and you make little gifts for them. And so it's fun because you come back to your stateroom and there's like a new little gift, and you don't know, when you're going to get one or what you're going to get. And it's a very fun thing in the Disney cruise community, and it's very popular, a huge following. So I'm sure that's a real bummer for a lot of people that they're not allowed to do that right now.
Yeah, I know, and it's a great way to meet new people and friendships and stuff. I'm sure like with anything, I think we're gonna slowly receive. We're gonna slowly see these things come back, as we started seeing in other destinations and stuff like that. So the one thing we probably should talk about is the kids club.
Especially with let's Disney not forget Line. That. Yeah, because theirs is open, it's available. Yes. But it is, capacity restricted. So you have to reserve a spot. You can't just show up and drop your kid off. And they are limiting you to one spot a day, like one session a day.
So you can't be in we like to drop our kids off there for all day.
I can't leave my kid there all day. What the
heck? There's none of that right now. So that's, for those that like to drop their kids off and say, I'm going to the adult pool. You're going to be in the kids club all day. Yeah, that's not happening right now.
Cannot do that. And I don't know if you saw anywhere. I was unable to find information on how long of a session it is that you sign up for.
I want to think. I think it's like an hour or two.
I would hope it's at least an hour.
It's not. I mean, it's not. I'm going to say maybe 2 hours. I could be wrong, but
yeah, I don't know. I couldn't really. Of course, on their web, they don't really say, and perhaps it's different for each sailing, or depending on how many kids are on. Maybe they take that into consideration. Like, well, this sailing has this many kids, and we can only have this many at a time, so we can only have sessions this long or something. I don't know, but they didn't really say how long of a session you got each day, but I would hope it's at least an hour.
Yeah, I'm guessing, like you said, that it's based on how many children are on the sailing and how many people are actually signing up that day.
Yeah.
So you could, I'm sure you have more than 10, but as an example, there may be only 10 kids that sign up for Kids Club that day.
Right.
And I would imagine they would get a longer time.
You would hope. Yeah, they could adjust it so that you could get longer, but I don't know.
But there's probably more than 10.
Yeah.
Those Kid Clubs are amazing. I want just to go in.
Yeah. So next I have Royal Caribbean.
Yes.
So Royal Caribbean is another cruise line, I think, that's popular with families.
Yes.
With kids, and they are it's similar to Disney. All guests 12 and older have to be vaccinated. So there's no special consideration for a person over 12 who has a health condition. It's just if you're 12 or over, that's it. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention with Disney, and this was true for all of the cruise lines, you have to be fully vaccinated and you have to have finished your, being fully vaccinated at least 14 days before your cruise.
Yes.
So you can't get your final shot like 2 days before you go on your cruise. Like that, you have to be fully vaccinated by 14 days prior to your sail date. And that was true with all of them. They all
that's across the board. I agree. Yeah,
that's across the board. Yeah.
Now I do wonder. I'm going to bring up a question. So a lot of these individuals are getting required to have the booster.
Yes.
I wonder how that's going to affect their. I haven't read anything about it yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that, and I didn't see anything about boosters. But that will be interesting if that becomes also, that you have to be up to date, or if you have, if you needed a booster, you would have had to get it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because they're not also making everyone get the booster or saying everyone has to. It's like only certain people.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, but that will be something, again, like this is what I think.
We'll have to pay attention, watch out for.
This could be something that changes in the future. I don't know. But so you also, everybody has to take a test. So this was interesting, I thought. This is on Royal Caribbean has this policy in place through November 1st. So they've said, oh, well, this is the policy through November 1st, but we might change it after that. Most of the cruise lines said the policy was through December 31st. So I thought it was interesting. Royal was different. So I don't know if they're thinking they might change any of this stuff. But the guests under 12 will have to take a COVID test prior to sailing. So everyone has to take the test ahead of time that you upload. The guests under 12 who are unvaccinated have to take one at the port before you can get on the ship. And then up to 2 additional tests depending on the length of the cruise. And they are also doing one prior to disembarking at the end of the cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're also doing that.
Yeah, so there are some similarities for the cruise lines. I'm sure they all sort of talk together on some level to kind of say this or that, and they tweak it to what's best for their business and their guest for sure. So I'm actually going on a Royal Caribbean cruise in November.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's a preview of the Odyssey of the Sea, so I'm really excited about it. So it's only 2 nights actually, so it's Saturday, so it's definitely not long enough, trust me. But it will be my first cruise post-COVID, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to see how the process works. And I'm sure we'll do a podcast on it and share some details, because Colleen, you are also going on a cruise this year as well. And later this year.
Yeah. My husband and I were going on Virgin.
Yes.
Cruise line. We were going to go on a Carnival cruise line, but then we decided to not, which I was going to talk about that at the end too.
Oh, well, we can talk more about that at the end.
Talk about it at the end about whether you should
go
ahead. Or not. Should you go on a cruise or not? So I was going to talk
but
about why we decided not to.
Yeah, so I mean, they all have different things and they tweak it, and so it's interesting to see especially as we're travel advisors too. So it's interesting to see the differences of what they're doing and what they're requiring, and of course, we have to stay on top of that. But
I felt like Royal was very similar to Disney.
Yes,
they're requiring masks indoors, and they still have the kids clubs are open, but you have to make a reservation. I didn't read that they're capping it at 1 session per kid per day, but basically you're not guaranteed that your kid is going to get a spot. And I would definitely be looking to see if you can pre-reserve those spots ahead of time before you get on the ship, and not wait until you get on the ship unless you have to. But just because I bet they fill up, because people want their kids to go to the kids club, right?
Yeah, because that's part of the fun. Not just for adults, but for the kids too. They love it.
They have fun. They meet friends there, and they do all kinds of fun activities. But yeah, they were definitely very similar to Disney. Now, Norwegian Cruise Line, which is the next one on my list, was one of the different ones. So this surprised me. Norwegian Cruise Line is sailing 100% vaccinated. So that's it. If you're not vaccinated,
your age,
you're not going.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So I thought that was very interesting because
and that's till December 31st of this
year.
Right,
yeah. So their policy is through December 31st, but I thought that was very interesting because I do think of Norwegian as being a family-friendly cruise line, one that families would choose. So this is like they're eliminating anybody with kids under 12. You're not going on a cruise right now on Norwegian.
Nope. That isn't interesting that they took that approach on that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I do think Norwegian, although it is family friendly, I do think a lot of their cruise is more adult.
Yeah, you think so? Okay.
Yeah, that's my opinion, but it is very family friendly. But I do think like for kids older, like more like your teenagers,
older kids versus younger under 12 kids.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I could see that. But what I thought was interesting is, and they make a big deal about this on their website, because they're sailing 100% vaccinated, they are not having a mask rule at all.
That's interesting.
Social distancing. There's no mask mandate. So I thought that was very interesting.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, when you get off of the ship, you have to do whatever the
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You have to follow the guidelines of that.
On the ports, right? But on the ship, and that's what they say, because we're 100% vaccinated sailing, we don't have to require masks or social distancing or any of that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that would be very appealing to some people, a lot of people, really, because people want to feel normal again. People want to go back to normal. And I mean, even me personally, that's appealing to me. Like, oh, wow, like, I'm vaccinated. Like, I could go on this cruise and not have to worry about wearing a mask all of the time. But I thought they are the only of the cruise lines I looked at. They're the only one that was doing that, was saying, because we're 100% vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask and you don't have to social distance, and everything is open and everything is exactly like it was before.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that is that would be appealing to me too. Like you, I am fully vaccinated as well. And I don't mind the mask. I mean, I'll do what I need to do wherever, because I'm choosing to travel or I'm choosing to go to that business. So if they require the mask to be on, the mask will be on. It is what it is. But I do like the idea of going on a cruise with no mask.
Right. And just having that normalcy again. I feel like all of us, no matter what side of the fence you're on about anything, like, I feel like everybody just really just wants to feel normal again. They just want
I agree, 100%.
So, but
getting there.
Yeah. So even though they're eliminating, anybody with kids under 12, I think they're probably appealing a lot to people who are looking for that. Like, I just want normal. Like, I want to just go and have fun and have a vacation and relax and not think about all of this restrictions, right? So, yeah, so that's very interesting to me.
I agree.
Now, Princess Cruise Line is also sailing 100% vaccinated. But they are not doing what Norwegian is doing and saying, oh, because we're 100% vaccinated, you don't have to wear masks or social distance. They are still mandating masks. Even though they're going to be 100% vaccinated, they are still making you wear a mask indoors and social distancing and stuff like that. And they're, so that was interesting. I thought that they are not taking the same exact approach as Norwegian.
Yes. Well, I can understand. I think Princess Cruise Line got hit the hardest. If we remember back. I try to block it out. Remember back. I think they got hit the hardest on all of this. So
Yeah.
I can understand their stance on that.
They want to make sure that they're
Yes.
being extra careful and safe and all of that. So now Carnival Cruise Line, this is what my family had booked to Carnival. It was like a rebook from a rebook from a rebook from a rebook from like
yes
2 years ago, whatever. But Carnival Cruise Line they are the only ones that are doing this. So they are allowing a small percentage of unvaccinated guests. And I can't remember, it's like 3%. It's very small. Like, it's not going to be a lot of people. Like, out of an entire cruise, it might be like 100 people that they are allowing to be unvaccinated. The only people who can apply for this exemption are kids under 12 or people who have a health condition that is making it so that they can't get vaccinated.
Okay.
And you have to show proof. You do have to be able to provide something that says why, what is your health condition from, like your doctor or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But so it's not, I don't know if it's like a lottery system per se, but basically in order to get the exemption, you have to fill out a form requesting it. And then out of all of the people who apply, only obviously 100 and something people are going to get it. And they give priority to the kids under 12.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to first look at who asked for an exemption that's a kid under 12, and those people get it first. And then if there's any spots left, they would move on to the people older than 12 that had asked for a medical exemption. If you don't get the exemption, you don't get this spot, then they will let you either cancel and get a full refund or rebook.
Well, that's good that they have that in place, and and those things are, I think that's important. I think when the cruise lines are putting these types of policies in place, they definitely take into consideration what happens if they can't go on the cruise,
right.
Or they don't qualify in a case like this, or we can't pick them because we already maxed out on our exemptions. So I think they've been doing a great job in finding ways to either give you a full refund or allow you to take that future cruise credit.
Exactly. Yeah. And some of them have had really great incentives too to rebook.
Absolutely.
They might say, well, we'll let you cancel, but if you rebook, we're going to give you 125% future cruise credit, or we're going to give you $600 of onboard credit, or, there's definitely been a lot of incentives too, which of course they want you to cruise. They don't want you to
yes, absolutely.
So I think, it can be advantageous to take advantage, to do those things, to take those offers that they're giving you.
Mm-hmm.
But so Carnival is, they are also making you take a test before you sail. Unvaccinated guests also have to take an additional test during the cruise, but you have to pay for it.
Yes, you do.
And it's $150.
Yes, it is expensive, and I've seen them between $125 and $150 for the Cova testing on board. And I think that's pretty standard for all the cruise lines, that price point.
Yes, that price point. Yeah. So, but that's a big thing to consider, so my family was booked on a Carnival cruise over Thanksgiving. Again, it was a rebook from, other ones that got canceled prior to this. And we were hoping, by Thanksgiving, things would be a little bit more back to normal. But I have 2 kids that are under 12.
Mm-hmm.
So if I went on the cruise, it was going to cost me, just for that part alone, it's going to cost me $300.
Yeah, just to have
them on the cruise with me, because they would each have to take another test during the cruise, and that would be $150 a pop. So that was absolutely something that I took into consideration when we were deciding, is this really is this really going to work? Now, additionally, they are also, just like the other cruise lines that are allowing unvaccinated guests, if you want to get off of the ship at a port, you can only do this on a certain excursion that you've booked through the cruise line. And they're calling them bubble tours.
I was just going to say yes.
Yeah, they're calling them bubble
Bubble
tours. Because you're in a bubble. So the excursions you're allowed to go on are ones where you are essentially not going to come into contact with anyone else but the people in your excursion group.
Yeah, so it's very important that I think with the islands that they're protecting their people.
Right.
And a lot of people often wonder why can't I just roam like I used to? And here's the thing, and I understand we all want that normalcy when we cruise and we love going and exploring the different locations, but a lot of these islands are very small and they may only have one hospital for the entire island. So
not a huge one either.
Yeah, if they have an outbreak, they're not going to be able to handle
it. Would be devastating. They really
absolutely
wouldn't be able to accommodate and take care of all of the people if there was a huge outbreak. Yeah. So I agree. I agree with you that it makes absolute sense to me why they are being very cautious. And some of the islands in the Caribbean have actually said they will not allow anybody who's not vaccinated at all. Yeah. So that's another thing I wanted to mention was some of these cruise lines are having to redo their ports of call. So maybe originally the cruise was supposed to go to these sets of islands. Well, because of the restrictions for those islands, they might have to change the port. So I've seen a lot of things changing to like Mexican ports, right? Like, so they're taking maybe some of the smaller islands and instead of going there, they're going to go to some ports in Mexico.
Yeah. And I think too, you're seeing a lot of, they call them like double dips into the private islands.
Right. Yeah.
So that's been another big, I know Disney Cruise Line has been doing that on the longer, like the 4 nights and stuff. They're doing like double dipping, what they call it, to their private islands, which is fine by me because that island is
I know, live right?
on that island.
Another day at Castaway Cay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah, I agree. The private islands are really fun, so
yes.
There's definitely like 2 types of cruises. I feel like there's like the cruise you're going to go on that you're really just wanting to relax and, be casual and whatever, and have a beach day or whatever. And then there's the cruise where you are actually wanting to go to different ports and explore those ports.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was going to say is, personally, my opinion on it is if you are looking to have a cruise where you're going to experience different destinations and explore them, and that's the important part to you, that's your priority, I would maybe not go on a cruise right now. I would wait until 2022, maybe 2023, because I just don't think that's a thing. Even if you are vaccinated and you're getting off the ship, I just think with the restrictions on the islands and the different ports, it's just not going to be what you're looking for. But if you're okay just relaxing and staying on the ship and enjoying the ship's amenities, like Disney cruise ships are amazing, on going to the private islands, and that's all you really want to do, then yeah, like that, I think it would be fun.
I agree. And also, I think it's a great time to cruise because it is still limited capacity.
It is, yeah.
So to have like a less crowd on a cruise
right
is amazing. Would be amazing to be able to experience that because you're not scouting out the area for the perfect chair by
right
the
pool. Yeah, you can't get a chair on the pool deck, or you're waiting in line for 40 minutes to ride the water slide or the aqueduct. On a Disney cruise ship can be really crazy. So
so it is a great time, like you said, if you're looking for something more chill and laid back. I definitely, and less crowds, it definitely is a great time to get on a cruise for sure.
Yeah, going back to Carnival, I just thought of something I didn't mention, which was actually, I would say, the nail in the coffin for us in deciding to cancel our Carnival cruise is they are not having kids clubs open.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So kids under 12, there's no kids clubs available. They did have the teen clubs, for the kids that were over 12 who were vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
They did have teen clubs open, but kids under 12, there were no kids clubs. So it was like, okay, we can't get off the ship unless we do these bubble tours. There's no kids club. And I think they are doing restrictions in terms of like theaters and restaurants, because they are having designated areas for fully vaccinated guests. So it's like, oh, in the theater, we're having a show just for vaccinated guests. You're not vaccinated, you can't go.
Yes, they have more limitations.
Yeah, there's a lot of limitations. And so we just felt like if it had just been my husband and I, it probably would have been, we would have been like, fine, whatever, because we're both vaccinated. But our kids are under 12, so they can't be. So we just, we've had, it's just not worth it for us to go as a family on a cruise. Now, like I mentioned before, my husband and I are going on a Virgin cruise in December. That's adult only, and so that'll be different. That'll be fun. We don't have to worry about the kids.
A totally different experience. So that'll be nice. We talked about a little bit earlier, we could talk about that we're both cruising later this year. And I'm very excited about it. One, so that I can experience the full, like what requirement are required and stuff. Now, mine is a lot shorter since it is a preview of the Odyssey of the Sea for Royal Caribbean. So, and we are going to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, which I'm excited. Ooh. I haven't been there since it was under construction.
Me neither.
So I'm really excited to see all the new things there. But I'm really excited to get back to cruising, and I do think it's the same that I think that with all travel, that it can be done safely. Yes. But I also strongly feel that it's an individual choice, and you have to do what you feel most comfortable with when it comes to traveling, whether it is a domestic trip, an international trip, or a cruise. You have to do what you feel comfortable, because there are things like where I think a cruise is different because it's leaves from the U.S. and comes if you're cruising from the U.S. and comes back to the U.S. However, when you go to these different islands separately, like you're just going to the island, there are some testing requirements to come back into the U.S. So, and so I think it's, it's an individual choice. But for me personally, I am very much so looking forward to getting on a cruise in November and experiencing it, and being able to do it again feels normal in itself. So,
yeah, I have been looking forward to this, ever since they shut down, and there were moments where I almost felt like it was never going to happen again. I feel like a lot of people probably felt that way, like this, like we're never going to get back here. We're never going to get on a ship again. So I feel hopeful and encouraged that, there are sailings that are going out. They are being successful. They aren't having any major issues. And I'm with you. I cannot wait to go. But yeah, I agree 100% with what you said about it's a personal choice. Know what the restrictions are. Be educated, use a travel advisor, make sure you understand exactly what it's going to be like, and then make the choice. You have to think of yourself and your family. Is that worth it to me? Is I okay and comfortable with these restrictions? And if you're not, you're not. I don't think that this is forever. Like, I don't necessarily think any of this stuff is forever. I think that things will continue to evolve and change, and restrictions will start to get less, restrict.
Yes.
As time goes on. So don't worry, you can wait until next year or the year after, and you can book cruises pretty far out. And there's some great incentives. I will say that there are some really great sales and incentives with cruises right now, because the cruise lines, they want you to say, they need business. They're trying to get business. They need it. Hello, they were shut down for over a year. Like, they need money.
And they want you to cruise, and you can book on some cruise lines far out as 2024.
Yeah, you can. You can book pretty far out. So, but if you ever wanted to do a bucket list cruise, this is what I would say. Here's my pro tip. If you ever wanted to do a bucket list cruise, like to Alaska or Hawaii or Europe, Now is this, even if you don't book it until you're going 2023, 2024, the sales, the prices right now, once cruising is 100% back, like this is not going to be the price anymore. Like they will go up. So if you were ever wanting to go on one of those types of sailings, I would book it now and lock in some of these amazing prices that they've got going on.
I 100% agree because the deals are unbelievable. They're unreal. So
yeah, you'll never be able to do an Alaska, Hawaii, Europe, like any of that. Probably even like the Asian ones. I mean, there's a lot of really amazing cruises out there other than just Caribbean, you know, and you're not going to be able to book them for this cheap.
at the price point. Yep, the price points that we're seeing right now is it's crazy, and it is a really good time to book your cruise. Far out. If you don't want to cruise in the next year because you're not,
it doesn't matter. Go 2023, 2024, like you said, whatever. At least you're taking advantage of the price. The sale that they're doing right now, and lock it in, and then you're good. You've got it all set. So
absolutely, 100%.
So I'm sure this will not be our last podcast on cruising and restrictions. And obviously, after you go on the Odyssey of the Seas, we absolutely have to talk about that. I cannot wait to hear all about that. And then when I go on the Virgin sailing in December, we got to talk about that too, because Virgin
I'm excited for that
concept. It is a
whole new concept. Yes,
adult only cruising. So I cannot wait for that. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let us know, what are your questions about cruising right now? What are your concerns? What are your thoughts? Share them with us. We love to hear from our listeners, and we'd love to answer questions. When we do another podcast on cruising, we'd love to have some listener questions. So, you can write to us, magicaltravelingmoms@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and leave us a comment there, or leave us a message on there on the posts. And we would love to hear from you. And of course, please subscribe to our podcast, or go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to us there. And we look forward to talking about cruising again, right? So until next time, we hope all of your travels are magical.